Hey everybody, welcome back to the EQN Sports Desk here at the NRCHA Snaffle Futurity, all brought to you by Metallic Cat. I'm Drew Stew, and alongside El Jefe,
Now, I'm just Paul.
You're just Paul?
I'm just Paul.
You're just Paul. Hey, so you and I met a few years ago.
We did.
Yeah, a few years ago, and man, you're the president now. You've been the vice president. You've got a great association going on. Congratulations, Paul.
Well, thank you. It's been a big team effort to get us where we are today.
What an association, though.
It's great. There are some that say that we are the most, or we're the sexiest.
By far.
The sexiest Western Performance Association out there.
That's all. That's a great way to put it.
Absolutely.
Man, so let's talk a little bit about history. So you've been involved for decades with the NRCHA. Why? I want to know the why. Because there's a lot of stuff we can do. We can go rope. We can go ride reiners, cutters, whatever. Why, Paul? Why this association?
Well, I think it's one of the most inviting associations out there. And I know that if you are someone that's just coming into the cow horse and you see $1 million rider loping around just in the warm-up pen, you feel like that you can walk up to that person and ask them for help, and they're more than willing to help and assist you. And, from our office staff, whenever you walk into that office, we try to have a very inviting feeling there and there to answer your questions. But so I just think that we have a family-oriented persona about us, and we want people to be a part of our association. And I think that's one of the reasons why you have seen our grassroots levels from our boxing, our box drive, our non-pro divisions grow over the past several years is because those people have left other disciplines and come to the cow horse because they have felt welcomed here.
Let's get right into that. That is something that we talked about off camera, and we're having a pretty good conversation about that. How long has it been since the boxing? When did that corner kind of turn and you guys really start developing the amateur side of this?
Well, so when I first began on the NRCHA board, we only had a 5K boxing. In other words, if you won $5,000 in the boxing class as a non-pro, you immediately had to leave the boxing and start going down the fence.
You're out. You got to go down the fence.
You got to go down the fence.
So $5,000 was it?
$5,000. Wow, and of course, you have to remember, back then there wasn't a lot of money added in those lower divisions to basically to allow those non-pros to stay in that boxing class as long as they could. But we realized that we were missing a segment of our membership by not allowing people to remain in the boxing class indefinitely.
Sure.
And so we eventually created the non-pro boxing class. So then you had the 5K, and then you had the non-pro boxing class. Then just a few years later, we developed the 1K. So then you have the 1K boxing class, then the 5K, and then the non-pro boxing class. So it was a progression. And then along comes the box drive class, which was a brainchild of Todd Crawford.
Sure.
And that was kind of a step up to those that are in the boxing class that may want to experience going down the fence, but yet they could go through the process of the box drive class, but then if they felt like that they wanted to move on, they could, but they could continue to be in the boxing classes. So that's where a lot of our growth has been for our association, are those non-pros that have come in and started those classes. And we really saw a lot of growth in our association when we created those lower level divisions for the non-pro boxers. And we just brought a lot of growth to the association because of that.
We were looking at your phone here before this, and just like you were talking right there, the non-pro boxing class, you doubled it in size this year, just here at this show. Let's talk about let's talk business a little bit. So as the president, and you've been a part of this for so long, you've been on the board of directors almost 20 years. So 20 years behind the scenes. This guy's been pulling strings for the NRCHA. But on the business side of it, these are the conversations that as an association you have in those rooms when you're talking about your memberships, when you're talking about industry growth, when you're talking about all of those things that really matter. Building that base, Paul, is extremely important. yes, the payouts, and we'll talk about this here in a minute. We want the payouts, and these open trainers, we absolutely want to celebrate these guys. But if we don't take care of that base,
right,
that's where all of our growth comes from.
Yeah, and so I think that years ago, there had to be, in my opinion, a learning curve within the association, because we always wanted to really front load the open divisions, and the non-pros were always, kind of just a second thought, if you will, relative to whenever we were structuring our shows, doing our payouts, and so forth. And so, it was always focused on the open. And granted, I mean, we've seen, a huge explosion in the growth of our open classes. But at the same time, I think it is because of that grassroots level that we brought in, because these people that are doing these boxing classes, they have the ability, they have the expendable income that they can buy those open horses for these open riders, and then eventually they can show them in the boxing classes. So that's one area that I think that we have seen the growth is we brought those new people in. They have expendable income. They're able to buy horses.
They have businesses that have logos on this wall too.
Exactly. You see a lot of these logos of our sponsors and corporate partners that are here. These are people that are invested in the cow horse, and they love the cow horse. And not only are they buying horses and keeping trainers in business, but they're also putting a lot of sponsorship dollars into our association. And one thing that several of our sponsors will tells us is that the cow horse people are the most loyal to their brand.
Sure.
Whether it's Cinch Jeans, Kimes Jeans, whether it's, any of our products that are offered out here, the cow horse family is very loyal to those that are our corporate partners. And, used to be the conversation in the boardroom was, well, we want to fill the stadiums. We want to fill the coliseums with people so that they can see the most exciting event on dirt. Well, to do that, again, I go back to that grassroots level. Yeah. When you bring those people in, they're bringing their family in, they're bringing their friends in, and guess what? It just continues to grow from there.
Absolutely. Well, this is a conversation that at every association, it doesn't matter if it's us here or the ropers or the cutters or reiners or whatever, this very same conversation is had. Probably that conversation's had more than any, and to actually pull it off and see the development of it, that's where it's all at. And you guys are definitely doing it here. And I mean, we can go rounds and rounds. When you look at sports as a whole, one thing that we get wrapped up in is we see that in any other discipline outside of the horse business, the pros make all of the money. So we instinctively want to pay and want to look at that. But we are in such a unique industry because we get to play the game too.
Right.
And we get to play the game in the same arena. It's so much different than basketball or football or whatever it is. And it's very cool that embracing that. I mean, I on the team roping side of things, it's all about the low numbered roper.
Right.
And this same fight was had 30 years ago with the open ropers, who are now roping for more money than they ever have before, because the base of the amateur has lifted everything up. And at first it's like, oh, maybe that money should be for the open. No, it'll come.
It will.
It will come, and then it'll be there for a long time.
Right. And to your point, a lot of the open riders, they have their own sponsors, whether it's a saddle sponsor, whether it's a feed sponsor, whether it's, a supplement sponsor.
Sure.
And as they're a walking billboard. And to those non-pros that are entering our association, or maybe they've been lifelong non-pros, if they see that professional wearing that brand, guess what? They're going to check it out.
100%.
And so, yes, it is definitely, the tide raises all boats. And I think that that's one of the things that we have seen, especially over the last several years, with so many of our professionals wearing the logos of those people and organizations and corporations that are sponsoring them. Because, again, I go back and say the grassroots, they're the ones out here in this trade show buying the boots, buying the pads, buying the saddles, And
but we all want to be those guys.
Yeah,
we all want to be those
yeah.
guys. They're our heroes.
Right,
That's the thing.
exactly.
Like, I love nothing more than when Cush comes by and just shakes my hand.
Absolutely.
I mean, those guys are awesome.
Absolutely.
Every one of them. And you dang right, you made a huge point. If they're endorsing a brand, why not give it a shot? Because if it's good enough for him,
it's good enough for me.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a cool circle.
Absolutely.
It's a very, very cool circle. And it's very cool that it's come to the point it is right now. Talk to me about how much you've seen the horse business change in 20 years.
Oh, my goodness. Well, here's an interesting, fact to me. Our horses are triathletes. Mm-hmm. They're doing a minimum of 3 events.
Like you and I, triathletes.
Exactly. Yeah.
I try to be an athlete.
It's somewhere I'm a triathlete. But so we're training these horses to do 3 events. Mm-hmm. And you've got the cutters that they're just cutting. You got the reiners that are just reining. You got your rope horses that are just roping. But when you ask the question, what have I seen over the last several years? When you take a horse that has the ability to do 3 events, and those horses weren't priced at where a reiner was priced, or where a cutter was priced, or even a rope horse, and you could see these professionals putting the time in to develop a horse that could be that triathlete, but yet those horses weren't selling for the same price as what a reiner was, or a cutter. And so we've seen in the last several years that those prices have started to increase. Sure. Now, that's great for those people that are breeders, that are raising these horses, and it's great for our trainers. Now, for a non-pro like myself, it's not so good.
Yeah, right.
I still remember.
You got to go buy these horses.
I got to go buy these horses. I'm still looking for that $15,000 non-pro world champion.
Yeah.
But I think we have finally gotten to a point to where people appreciate and they're paying for the ability to have that horse trained to do 3 events. And so over the last several years, that's one of the things that I think we've seen in the evolution of our association is people are starting to appreciate what these professionals are doing as far as training these horses to do 3 events.
So I have a question for you that until this conversation I don't think I've ever thought about. I've thought about it from a team roper's perspective. Were cow horse trainers, because of what you just said, was it a spot where almost like, were you guys getting the quote-unquote washout reiners and cutters, kind of like what the ropers were doing, and then just here in the last however many years it is, then it was like, no, we are breeding cow horses. We are not taking horses that may not have just made it. And you see where I'm? So in the team roping, here, let me qualify my statement. Yeah. In the team roping deal, we were always riding rejects forever. We weren't necessarily training for team roping. We were trying to find, really, cow horses were the best place to pick them.
Right.
But if there was the cutters were too small for a long time. But we're trying to get them from the cutters and trying to get them for the reiners. So it was always like, hey, let's go talk to our buddies that are showing and get some rejects. And that completely pissed off Danny Gentry and everybody, because they're like, we're not riding, we're paying $120 million a year in our industry. We're not riding rejects. We are riding. But it took up until literally the last 5 years for us as ropers to say, hey, we are breeding these horses for these disciplines, from the open all the way down to the number 7 novice division. And we're in that place now. But it took, like I said, up until 5 years ago to do that. Was cow horse in that same place? Or this is where I don't know the history enough. Well, so I hope that's not an ignorant question.
No. I think you're exactly right. And of course, you also have to realize that the cow horse originated on the West Coast.
Sure.
And so up until we started having artificial insemination and ship semen and so forth and so on, you had those cow horse stallions that were out there on the West Coast. And then to me, it kind of, you look at John Ward and the Greg
Sure.
Ward Ranch, and how that they were breeding cow horses. They had their special stallions out there that were just cow horses, although they dabbled in the cutting a little bit too. And so I think that that's where we started seeing the crossover of those cutting stallions.
Like Jack Adams, that whole group of guys right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but they all of a sudden realized that there is a market to be had in the cow horse by having a stallion that can breed to just people that
make cow horses.
But to make cow
horses.
And then what you've also seen, and as we look around, the walls of this arena, these stallions down here are not only cutting stallions, but they're also now cow horse.
Yeah, Metallic Cat is
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Yeah.
I mean, you just go down the list of all of them. But then you look at Call Me Mitch.
Yeah,
he's a true cow horse, right? And he is producing a lot of offspring out here that's showing and that's winning.
Yeah.
So you can still have a stallion and make money in the cow horse industry by being a straight cow horse. And so I think that that's what revolutionized and started us on a pathway. I look back and I think of Shining Spark.
Yeah.
Carol Rose promoted Shining Spark. He was here in Texas, and again you start talking about how he came into the cow horse, and you look at a lot of these horses that are showing today, the mares that these babies are out of go back to Shining Spark.
Hey, every healer in the world wanted to have a Shining Spark heel horse. I'll tell you that. Right?
Yeah. So and I go to thinking about Mr. Dual Pep that was that the Ward Ranch had, and and I've ridden Mr. Dual Peps and so Smart Pepiniks and all of those various horses that to me were true cow horses, but yet how it's just been revolutionized over the last several years with the ability of these stallion owners knowing that they can make money by breeding cow horses.
I love it. We just got done with Riata a couple weeks ago, and sitting up there talking with Trip Townsend about this. He's Pepsid. And we look at the horses in the team roping side of things right now that were represented at Riata right now. Hickory Holly Time's always one of the number one horses up there, not one of our number one stallions. Once in a Blue Boon is one of our number one stallions. Stevie Ray Vaughan is one of our number one stallions.
Right.
Pepsid's got a ton of horses in there right now, and it's just very, very cool. And what they're doing, the versatility of this horse is what's when you get into team roping, what we're asking them to do is one discipline, but we're asking them to run really, really hard. Then we're asking them to stop, and we're asking them to turn, and we're asking them to drag a hind leg around the corner and do all these things. These horses here, plus they have the size, and so we're seeing a huge that is the crossover right now, is the team roping Futurities and cow horse.
Right.
And it's very, very cool. And on that side of it, like I said, in 5 years it's completely changed. We're all my heel horse right now is a grade sorrel heel horse. The days of that are kind of over.
Yep.
They're completely over in the team roping industry, which, like I said, 5 years ago we didn't care if we had papers or not. We have to now.
Right.
It's changed the whole game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, I think back to another stallion that, we're seeing a bunch of 3-year-olds in the pen this year, Scooter Cat, that is a straight cow horse, know. Yeah. But to your point, it's the days of just having the grade horse to go out there and rope on or any other discipline is
long
over.
Gone.
It's long gone.
Long
now,
gone.
Nothing wrong with that.
No,
I've been there.
Hey,
done
I bought a grade pony for my kids yesterday.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
But I had to. He was $3,500. I'm like, well, I can't find another horse in the world for $3,500.
Absolutely.
If I can ride him and he doesn't die, he's worth $3,500.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Do you have a second one?
Well, yeah, exactly. So I was like, I wish. Do you have 5 more? That's what I asked the guys. Like, I would take a trailer load of these right now. Cute little gray horse for $3,500. Like, come on.
Listen,
can't find them.
My wife has been traveling all over the country trying to find a pony for our grandkids, and you're talking, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 for a broke pony, but a pony, and it's just been unbelievable. I'm like, when it started out, I'm thinking, we'll buy one for $1,000, $1,500. Yeah, no.
My father-in-law so I was on the phone when you walked up here. That's who I was on the phone with. My father-in-law went and picked that horse up, and he's like, You paid 30. He's like 14-1, cute little dapple gray, like cute. You know,
Yeah.
says he's 7. I don't know. He might be 13. I don't know. You know, whatever.
Right.
But cute, broke. Led my kids around on him. He's going to be super safe. And my father-in-law was like, "You paid $3,500 for this horse." I'm like, "Apparently you haven't been hunting.
Exactly.
Apparently you haven't." He's like, "Well, I haven't had to buy a pony for my kids in a long, long time." I'm like, "You need to go look, because
Yeah.
$3,500, I could sell this sucker 100 times
Absolutely.
over. 100 times.
I'm not going to
over.
tell my wife, because
Yeah.
she may.
Hey, I got a great one for sale for $15,000. No, it's cool what the industry's done. I mean, I tell you what, Paul, we're in such. Everybody that's up here, we've talked about this. It is such a great time to be in this industry right now. It was a deal growing up where it's like, well, I got to go get a job so that I can pay to be in the industry. Well, right now, if my kids want to be a professional trainer, they want to be a professional roper, it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's a good job. They can do it, and they can make a good living. It has just changed so much.
It
and
has.
It's very, very good in every discipline.
And to your point, you know, I've been in the industry for too many years. I know 35 plus years. Been in and around the Western horse world for that many years. And to see trainers back in those days that had to have a second job to be a trainer.
Yeah.
You know, whenever I started out, you know, I paid a guy that's been the director of judges of NRCHA just a few years ago, $500 a month to train a
$500 a
horse.
month. That's what I was going to say. I knew
$500 a month.
that included hay and everything.
Yeah, that
else.
included everything. Yeah, that was. I mean, you know, boy, do I miss those days.
Oh boy, right? Right.
But
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is, it's gotten to a point to where these guys can focus on what they're good at, what
Yep.
their talent's good at,
Yep.
and ladies. I say guys, but
Yeah.
you know, guys and gals out there that just have a tremendous amount of talent, and it just amazes me, Drew, year after year after year, these young men and women that are coming up,
buddy.
that the talent that they have to be able to train horses, and so I'm just always amazed seeing these new folks enter in.
What about your partnership with High School Rodeo?
Oh, been one of the greatest things we ever did. Absolutely.
I love that you just instantly say that.
Yeah,
I love that.
Greatest thing that one of the greatest opportunities. That was a Jay Winborn when he was executive director here
Yep.
at the NRCHA. That again, I go back and say something about Todd Crawford and Don Murphy. And when Jay pitched that to us, I mean, it was an immediate yes. And I tell you the reasons. We would have our major events just like the Snaffle Bit Futurity. We might have 8 or 9 youth kids showing in the youth bridle class, 8 or 9.
8 or 9, yeah.
And now fast forward to where we are today, 50, 60.
Outstanding.
You know, and then
Outstanding.
you go to the high school rodeo. There's 120 plus kids entered now
Wow.
in the cow horse, and it has been again one of those associations between the two of us, the high school rodeo and the NRCHA, that has really helped our association grow.
It's a great deal. So I announced National High School Finals Rodeo, and what it has done that we've seen. So since it started, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it's a huge bearing on the all-around race, which
Right.
is great because the kids may come in and they may just be a roper, they may just be a goat tire or a
Right.
barrel racer, but then it used to be, I can go find a cutter and just get the points in the cutting. Well, then they get into cow. You can't just go.
No.
You're not just going to go climb on one and hold on.
Right.
You know, and I think it was Emily and I that were talking about, or somebody that, you know, those numbers might have spiked and then they came down just a little bit. But the only reason they came down is because everybody thought it was like, we can just go jump on a cow horse.
Right.
Well, now these kids are practicing for it.
Yes.
And they're getting horses set up long. They're not just doing it just to get to the National High School Finals Rodeo. They're doing it and they're learning and they're falling in love with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I'm with you. I'm one of the greatest partners, and it's very, very cool because those guys and gals winning the all-around high school finals is a big deal.
Yes.
It's a big deal. You know, a national championship, but to win an all-around is a big deal.
Yes.
And that cow horse plays I'm telling you, a huge role in that. A huge role in that. So
No, we are one of the greatest decisions that our
awesome.
association made was to join up and be a part of the High School Rodeo Association. And being back from Tennessee area, I get calls from time to time from those promoters that are putting on the high school rodeos, and they say, "Hey, where can I go to, to let my kid show on the cow horse, or how do I, because
what do we even do?
What do we do?
What do we do?
Will you come down and just work with the kids and and just go through some basics with us, and so it's always been that's been a great. I don't want to say a problem to have, but it's been just something a growth, especially there in the eastern part of the United States to be able to get people to understand, especially those promoters of the high school rodeo, about the cow horse. And I just think that it's again one of the greatest things we ever did.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, bringing it all back full circle right here. You were making some notes on this piece of paper right here. Let's go ahead and talk turkey about here at the Snaffle bit this year. There's a lot of money up for grabs here. All of this stuff that we talked about comes to fruition on Saturday.
Yeah. And so, to your point, we're going to pay out $2 million just in the Futurity portion of the show. That just in
by
the
itself.
Just from the open through the non-pro divisions, we're paying out $2 million.
Outstanding.
And so I just think that doesn't include our ancillary classes and so forth and so on, but $2 million. The open division alone pays over $1 million this year in payout. And last year was our first year that we paid $200,000 to the winner. Our reserve champion last year got a check for $100,000. This year, because of the growth that we've experienced at this year's show, $200,000 to the winner again. But reserve gets $125,000.
Get a little $25,000 bonus there. Heck yeah!
And then, but third is getting $100,000.
Outstanding.
So that increased basically by $25,000 from reserve. Last year to this year, and also third, and then fourth place I believe is paying $83,500. But here's something that we also decided as a board several years ago, is that we wanted to at least pay every finalist a check for $10,000.
For $10,000.
$10,000. So we're taking 30 finalists back.
Okay.
So from 21st finalists down to 30, everybody gets a check for $10,000.
So you get you got a $10,000 check in your pocket before you ride to the herd.
Yeah.
Before you make the finals,
you're guaranteed a check for $10,000.
Outstanding.
For you and for your owners.
Yep.
Now, something that we did this year as well, from 31st to 45th place, because based on our payout schedule in our rule book 7.2, we would have taken 45 finalists back to the finals. But our terms and conditions says that we only take 30 horses. But this year, the board voted just the other day, we're going to give everyone from 31st down to 45th. They don't get to go into the arena and show, but they're going to get a check for $1,000.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but they couldn't be getting anything, and so we realized with the number of horses that would actually be in the finals based on our payout that we needed to do something for those owners and for those riders. So we're hoping that continues to increase.
Sure.
But this year we just went ahead. We're going to give 31st down to 45th a check for $1,000.
Hey, that's it may not seem like a lot compared to $200,000, but you and I both know in this game $1,000 is $1,000.
Yeah,
and that's very, very cool.
Yeah,
that's and I mean you're 40th out of 373 horses.
Right.
That's still a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, flipping back over to the non-pro, we saw our non-pro boxing Futurity double this year.
That's great.
So last year it paid $5,000 to the winner. This year we're going to pay $10,000 to the winner of the non-pro boxing.
How excited is that person going to be?
Oh, they're going to be ecstatic.
That's the best advertising you have.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. And a lot of times those individuals that are showing in those classes, they're not always riding for the money. Mm-hmm. They're riding for the title. They're riding because they're having a good time.
They want that buckle.
They want the
buckle.
They want that buckle.
I'm telling you, they want that buckle.
Exactly. But, but for them to receive a check for $10,000,
yeah.
And then reserve's going to get a check for $7,500 in that non-pro boxing class. I just think that that's going to be, huge.
That's huge.
For them. And another class, our level 1 open class. This year, the winner is going to get a check for $25,000 in our level 1. So whoever wins that class is automatically out of the level 1, and they'll be moving up to the other 3 divisions immediately. And so that, to me, is, again, a huge increase over what we paid out last year. So, again, we've just, because we've been so blessed with so many new people coming into our association, corporate partners, that we're able to pay out nearly $2 million just in our Futurity.
I love it. You were explaining to me the level 1s, the limited, the intermediate right there, and like you say, that's for. I didn't realize that the level 1 like that cap was at $25,000.
Yeah,
right
$20,000.
So, I mean,
yeah,
that's a like you say, that's an assistant trainer. That's a new guy coming in, new gal coming into the industry. But to be able to win $25,000 right there, that's outstanding.
Oh, absolutely. I was talking to an open rider the other day. He said, "Hey, I've got 2 horses that I'm showing in the open, but my assistant is showing 7." 7 Futurity horses. I said, man, you just wanted to get out of the work.
Boy, I guess, yeah.
Well, we had a laugh about that, but he said, you know what? He said, I'm taking the 2 horses that I think that I can win the Futurity with, focusing on them and for my owners. But he said those other horses, he said they're not quite the quality. And so he said, and my assistant is an excellent trainer and rider. And he said it gives those owners an opportunity to win money in 3 divisions.
Sure.
And so, he's looking out. He's not being selfish, but he's looking out for his customers and his owners by being able to share that down with his assistant trainer.
Absolutely. And what a great spot for those assistant trainers. Look, pressured reps, there's nothing like it. Getting the opportunity for those young men and women that are in those spots to go and show on a big stage as well.
Oh, 100%.
And then the other thing that goes back to the beginning of our conversation, that's 7, 8, 9 horses now that get cycled back in through all of our non-pros instead of just those top 2 horses. Those other 7 horses will go in. Maybe they're not the top open horses in the world, but they're going to be great non-pro horses. They're going to be great boxing horses. And as the industry grows, we're going to need them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you've talked about the roping, and as you know, we've had the roping Futurity here, and unfortunately this year we couldn't because of the limitations with the reconstruction taking place over at Will Rogers. But that's been a huge success for our 2 associations working together by having the roping Futurity here. Because those individuals are coming in, they're looking at these horses, and, they're there buying sell horses during our sale. So, that's been a great partnership with the 2 associations. And so, I just think that working collaboratively, I think that that's been a huge success and has allowed our association to grow.
Well, I think we're going to see more and more of this crossover with the team ropers. I really do. I mean, Paul, I'm not going to lie. Just like I told everybody that I've sat up here with, if I'm going to go do anything else or I'm going to get my kids involved in anything outside of roping, this is it. And I truly mean that. Like, this is a cool deal. And if you're a cowboy at all, you love this.
Oh, absolutely.
If you love the cattle side of it, you love this. And you love performance
horses.
This
is real cowboy stuff.
This is real cowboy stuff. This is the real deal. Hey, that going down the fence deal, I don't know if I've got the nerve for it. I mean, it's awesome.
Well, Drew, I don't know if you remember this or not, but in 2021, I had a horse fall with me, and I broke both arms.
Oh, I do.
And so I'm going to tell you, nearly a year later, when I started finally healed up and was able to go back down the fence, it was like being on a big roller coaster that first time I went down the fence.
You couldn't see the bottom, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I crested the top, and I mean, as we went down, it just felt exactly like that roller coaster racing towards the bottom. Just really took my breath. But I have a lot of responsibilities outside of being president of the NRCHA, and that flashes through my mind about Paul, you may be getting too old to do this, but you know what? I love it so much, I'm going to continue to do it.
Doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there is dang sure. You can see that part of that rush right there is a big part of this sport.
Oh, 100%. Everyone wants to go down the fence.
Everybody.
I mean, even if you are, again, goes back to that box drive portion, even those non-pros that want to just be in the boxing, when we created that box drive deal, that gives them just a little bit of that thrill of being able to go down the fence, and they love it. And that class has just continued to grow and get bigger and bigger. That's one of the only challenges that we have within our association is it has grown so much that all of our major events are no less than 10 days, and many of them are nearly 3 weeks now, and it's just to fit all of the entries in from all of the different classes. So I sometimes say we're just victims of our own success.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, it's the hottest ticket in the world. When we come and watch World's Greatest, come to the Snaffle Futurity, and this year, on Saturday we're going to be in the John Justin. I have a feeling that this street right out here, and here in the watch party, I think we're going to be plumb full.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to be plumb full, and we're going to get around not having the 5,000 seats in the Will Rogers. That's fine. We're going to get around, and it's going to be it is truly one of the hottest tickets.
Yes.
And this is the event that it's just like the Futurity for the cutters, the Snaffle bit. If you love cow horses, you're going to be here.
Right.
There's no other place to be. Come and
Cowtown.
watch.
It's Cowtown.
It's Cowtown, baby.
Yeah,
it is.
Absolutely.
Well, Paul, thank you so much
No,
for taking
thank
the
you.
time.
Yeah,
it's good seeing you, my friend.
good
I haven't
to see
seen
you
for a while.
Yeah.
Gosh dang, it's good to catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Love to do it.
Well, this is good stuff. Well, everybody, this is what it's all about here at the NRCHA Snaffle Futurity, sponsored by our friends at Metallic Cat, and we're going to be back with more interviews, of course, coming from our EQN Sports Desk, all driven by Holiday Auto Group. And on behalf of Paul Bailey and everybody here at the NRCHA, we thank you for coming out and hanging out. Yeah, if you haven't got your tickets yet for Saturday, you might want to get them. You might want to come down and hang out with us. We're going to have a whole lot of fun, and it's going to be great as we inch closer and closer to finding out who our champions of the 2025 Snaffle Futurity are.
Yeah.
On behalf of Paul, I'm Drew Stu. We'll catch you in a little bit.